I never thought I'd be that guy, the one blindsided by betrayal. But here I am, a regular guy with a not-so-regular story. It started simple enough, just a nagging feeling that something was off. Then, bam, I find out my partner of 20 years is living a double life. The shock? It's not just anyone she's with. It's her boss, Sylvia. This is my raw, unfiltered journey through the mess. This is my story. Enjoy watching it. Are you feeling a sense of unease, unsure of what may be lurking beneath the surface? Consider whether you truly desire to uncover the truth. My wife, with whom we shared 2 decades of life and who raised our 3 grown children, reached out to me during her workday with a straightforward inquiry. "When will you be able to return?" I inquired, questioning the reason behind it. She responded with a somber request for a meaningful discussion. I should have gone back to my place of comfort, but I chose not to. Gradually, my coworkers began to realize that I had become completely disengaged from the events unfolding around me. Rebecca had to bring me back to reality. As the CEO of a network of dealerships, I was responsible for overseeing everything. Upon presenting her with the text, she inquired about potential issues within my marriage or with our children. I reluctantly acknowledged that there seemed to be no other issues that I was aware of, apart from the typical troubles. Will inquired of Rebecca if there have been any subtle shifts in Mary's demeanor, such as when she engages in conversations on her mobile device. Does she abruptly end the conversation or fall silent when you enter the room? I responded without realizing it. However, I was always informed that the husband is typically the last to be aware. What is the reason for her presence at home? Rebecca pondered. Where is Mira? Why isn't she at work? I sent a message to my wife inquiring about her whereabouts. She quietly mentioned that she was heading back to her place. I sensed an unsettling aura, prompting me to reach out to her at her workplace as I anxiously awaited a response. I activated the voice recording. I requested to have a conversation with Myra Roberts. I received news that Mira Roberts, the regional manager, is no longer affiliated with this branch. She will be relocated to the head office starting next week. Consequently, she was granted a week of paid leave to make the required arrangements. I inquired about the timing of her promotion announcement. The lady's response came over 6 months ago. There was an unsettling discrepancy. What was the purpose of her recent 4-week stint at headquarters for additional training, considering she was already employed directly by the corporation? Why wasn't the family informed about her significant career change a few months ago? Rebecca, I implore you to provide me with an answer. If your husband were to inform you on Friday night that he had received a promotion and would be relocating starting early next week, what would be your initial reaction? I whispered. I'm inquiring because that's what my spouse intends to inform me. Oh, Will, Rebecca responded without hesitation. I would ponder the hidden truths that he must have been aware of long before this inevitable event unfolded. I appreciate your gratitude, I responded. I had the same impression. Now I can return to my abode and confront her, fully aware that every word she utters must be regarded with skepticism. I suspect she will reveal a hidden truth amidst a vast collection of precious adornments. Mira possessed an uncanny ability to persuade even the most perceptive creatures, such as elephants, to purchase insurance, all while concealing her true intentions. Rebecca's face revealed a profound sense of worry. She was well aware of the difficult situation I was in. I had no idea what to anticipate, but I sensed that I was on the verge of engaging in the most remarkable poker game of my existence. I struggled to conceal the turmoil within me, unable to mask the emotions that consumed my thoughts. I quietly messaged my wife, informing her that I was en route. Mira and I crossed paths in high school during the initial week of 10th grade. During lunch break, a friend of mine challenged me to approach the first girl I saw and kiss her. I accomplished it. I received an unexpected consequence, a resounding slap across my face and an immediate visit to the school principal. We kept our distance from one another afterwards. Our communication was effortless, as we moved in separate spheres. She exuded an air of urban sophistication. I was a local individual, completely immersed in my surroundings. She remained well-informed about the happenings in Kansas City. I am not. Everything took a different turn during the week of prom when we were both in 11th grade. I reluctantly took on the responsibility of covering for my father's ill employee, as my mother insisted on dragging him away to attend some significant event. He possessed 3 tow trucks and ensured their constant operation. They were involved in his car dealership's operations. It was a somber evening, and I was summoned to assist. There was an unfortunate incident where someone recklessly veered off the road at Thomas's farm, careening into his cornfield. The impact was so severe that the right rear tire of the car was completely ruined, rendering it inoperable. Mr. Thomas contacted the authorities, who then reached out to us. The journey to that place consumed approximately 20 minutes of my time. Upon swiftly reversing my gaze, I skillfully maneuvered the car into a hitched position. I was instructed by the policeman to transport her to the impound lot. As I glanced around, I spotted Mira by the police car, drenched by the rain, clad in a prom dress utterly destroyed. I removed my raincoat and passed it to her. She possessed an undeniable allure, even at such a tender age. I regarded it as a perfect score. I inquired of the officer if I could offer her transportation to her place of residence prior to proceeding towards the designated parking area. He mentioned that they would appreciate it, as they would need to stay there for at least another hour to investigate the accident. I requested the officer to contact her parents and inform them of our recent departure. He inquired about the reason, and I clarified that our shared history made it wiser to avoid uncertainties. Upon our arrival at their house, her parents promptly opened the door. I assisted her in descending. Afterwards, he departed to complete his tasks, completely oblivious to the fact that she had taken my raincoat. We remained in complete silence throughout the entire journey back. Upon Mira's return home, the words spoken remained a mystery to me. I never asked. I found myself surrounded by my usual group at school during lunch on Monday, as Mira approached with a tray of food. "May I accompany you?" She spoke softly, her words barely audible before being invited to take a seat. "Could you please relocate?" she inquired of Robbie. "I wish to speak with William." As she took her seat beside me, a heavy silence filled the air, accompanied by a somber aura of emotions that seemed to linger. After Mira kissed my cheek, I found myself attracting even more attention from curious onlookers. "This is for protecting my reputation." "On Friday night," Mira whispered, "let us rendezvous after school so that I may return your cloak to you. I regret to inform you that I will be arriving late due to my final gym class." I conveyed my thoughts. "If you prefer not to keep David waiting, perhaps another day would be more suitable for you. David is a distant memory, just like his father. My dad let him go this morning," Mira responded. "If I happen to miss the bus, could you kindly provide me with a ride back home?" "Understood. I am aware of your location," I said with a heavy heart. She stood there, patiently anticipating my arrival, much like her parents had done before. Her father expressed gratitude for my composure in dealing with the situation. He inquired about the reason. I requested the officer to inform him of our departure from the scene of the accident. I had to reluctantly recount the details of the disagreement. He found it amusing. Mira's cheeks turned a shade of red. "William Roberts. Mira expressed her disappointment in you, revealing that she had been mistaken about your true nature for over 2 years. Now I feel utterly foolish. Can this situation be resolved somehow? Would you like to accompany me to the movies on Friday night?" From that moment on, we became inseparable. You can even choose the movie. We quickly discovered that she was not a snob. Following my high school graduation, I embarked on a journey working alongside my father, immersing myself in the automotive industry from its very foundations. She secured a position as a clerk at an insurance company and diligently climbed the corporate ladder, eagerly enrolling in every online course suggested by management. By that time, she had climbed the corporate ladder and, to the best of my knowledge, held the position of assistant branch manager. Throughout the past year, Mira has dedicated 1 week per month to working at the head office. Throughout our journey, 3 daughters came into our lives. Until now, I believed life was filled with joy. Now my father entrusted me with the day-to-day tasks as he tirelessly labored to expand the empire. Throughout the past 2 decades, our business has grown significantly, leading us to acquire a total of 8 Ford dealerships. As a result, my focus has shifted towards spending the majority of my time in the office. Mira was patiently waiting for me upon my return. I gazed at the screen on the dashboard. The clock struck 11:20 in the morning as I stepped out of the car. As I unfasten my tie, I make my way towards the door, my gaze fixed upon her face. She appeared unaffected. Her demeanor conveyed a sense of calm and indifference. I was expected to unquestioningly accept everything she said. "Is it permissible for me to remove my suit and unwind if I choose to remain indoors for the day?" I inquired of my spouse. "Or will it only require a few minutes? Patience is required for this endeavor. It is necessary for you to undergo a transformation," Mira whispered softly after changing. I emerged and inquired, "All right, what transpired?" Mira handed me a stack of emails, their weight heavy with unspoken emotions. I perused them. Essentially, there was a conversation between Sylvia Smith, one of her female superiors at the company that I had heard of, and one of her administrative assistants who was going on maternity leave for 3 months. This conversation evolved into an opportunity to temporarily take over the position during her absence. The conversation was filled with an overwhelming sense of heaviness, as if her boss was attempting to manipulate her into compliance. After finishing the text, I set the sheets aside and decided to grab a beer. Reluctantly, I succumbed to their proposal. I commenced my journey on Monday. In my perspective, I have the option to depart on Sunday and make my way back home by Friday evening. I was provided with a furnished apartment by the corporation, which they rented for a period of time. Mira explained that the monthly payment was more affordable compared to the weekly option. As I cracked open the beer, I couldn't help but feel a heavy sense of emptiness. The absence of the papers weighed on me, filling the air with a somber silence. "Mira, could you please tell me where the papers are? I still have some reading left to do," I inquired. She removed them from her briefcase. "I apologize, I believed you had finished." Just as she handed them back to me, her cell phone began to ring. As she responded, she mentioned that it was her boss, Jake, from the office, and quietly exited the room. I entered the office and quietly scanned the papers into a Canon printer, transferring them to my personal laptop as I patiently awaited her arrival. My mind dwelled upon it. She failed to comprehend my perspective. Who called? The name that echoed through the air was Sylvia Smith. Every word she has spoken to me thus far has been a calculated deception. She seemed determined to keep the truth hidden from me, for reasons unknown. I reached out to Rebecca to inform her of my discoveries. Mira engages in a phone conversation with her new boss, Sylvia Smith, at their corporate office in Annapolis, Maryland. After a brief pause, she replied that she had managed to locate the information through a quick search on Google. Additionally, she reached out to a distant cousin residing in the vicinity, hoping to gather any possible leads. As I waited for Mira's return, I couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. With each passing moment, the silence grew deeper, amplifying the melancholy that lingered in the air. In an attempt to distract myself, I turned my attention to her briefcase, hoping to find solace in its contents. I embarked on a quest. The space was devoid of life, just as I had anticipated. The notebook held an address and phone number for Annapolis, devoid of any accompanying name. I swiftly captured an image of it using my mobile device and promptly shut it. "I apologize. There has been a shift in our plans. I will need to depart early on Sunday morning." Upon Mira's return, Jake relayed the news that Sylvia Smith would personally assist her in getting settled before her first day on the job. "Everything seems to have been predetermined, hasn't it?" I declared with unwavering conviction. Mira replied, her voice filled with a heavy stillness. "Yes, it is. One must find tranquility in order for it to manifest abruptly. There is an evident omission in the information you are providing. If it truly were last minute, one would be in a state of panic." I bumped into her, our collision breaking the silence. In that instant, a certain expression crossed her countenance, one that had been absent from my sight for a considerable span of time. He last appeared when I informed her about Stan Johnston's claim of their alleged affair. He went on to assert that our second daughter was not mine. After the story reached its conclusion, it became clear that he had deceitfully plotted to swindle us all out of our hard-earned family wealth. I took hold of the car keys and made my way towards the door. "Where are you headed?" Mira finally asked, expressing genuine concern for our daughter's safety on their way home. I exclaimed, The journey to school seemed to stretch on for an eternity. I made an unplanned visit to the office to inform them that I had arrived to collect my daughters. The information will be conveyed to them through the end-of-day announcements. I reviewed our bank accounts. There was no trace of any missing funds. I placed a late notice on the bill, as we did not utilize checks for payment. All checks must receive my approval before they can be honored. I have also requested them to restrict cash withdrawals at any branch except this one. My 3 little angels were filled with joy and excitement after we loaded them up. We visited Dairy Queen for some ice cream. Later on, we visited a nearby park where they enjoyed their burgers and fries. I was persuaded to make the purchase on their behalf. We engaged in a conversation between father and daughters. They seemed completely oblivious to their mother's impending journey. We were away from the house for nearly 30 minutes. I attempted to reach out to Mira, yet her cell phone remained engaged. I pondered the possibility of returning home to acquire an alternative rendition. "Hey, Dad, is something bothering you?" Diana, my eldest, inquired. "I received a call from your mom earlier, informing me that she has decided to take up a 3-month position in the corporate office. I mentioned that she would be departing on Sunday morning. She informed me that it occurred recently. Contrary to what others claim, that's not the case. I've been informed that it's a long-lasting promotion and that she has already held the position for a minimum of 6 months. All 3 of my daughters had an identical expression. The expression on their face was one of utter disbelief. "Are you saying that Mom and you are getting divorced?" Dawn inquired, the one in the center. "Did you have an affair? Has your mother discovered the truth?" "Oh my goodness!" It seemed to emanate from the lips of an innocent child. "I assure you there was no involvement of any kind. However, I appreciate your inquiry. There are no indications of a potential divorce as all of our funds remain intact. There is a profound sense of certainty within me." It was evident that she was not telling the truth. I responded. "Upon our return, uncertainty clouds our minds as we question the veracity of your mother's words. Is it possible that the individuals you were conversing with were being deceitful?" Darcy inquired. "Take a moment to listen to this and share your thoughts." I observed my 3 daughters as they quietly observed me, conversing with the receptionist in my wife's office. There is a certain beauty in allowing others to shape their own perspectives. Dawn informed Dad that everyone witnessed her departure for work. "What activities did she engage in during her leisure time this week?" "I'm just as clueless as you are because I genuinely have no idea," I responded. "I can uncover the truth, but it will require the assistance of experts, which unfortunately means it will be a time-consuming process. Right now, ladies, we must determine our course of action. There is no way to prevent her departure, regardless of Deanna's words. We lack sufficient information to make a substantial decision." Darcy expressed her frustration with the constant requests to be patient and wait. "It is essential to determine your capabilities before committing to anything. Information may be elusive and difficult to obtain in this place. Maybe it's Mom who's involved in a secret relationship," Don said. He murmured softly. "Perhaps she is tormented and in need of compassion." At that moment, my cell phone broke the silence. It was my wife. "Where are you?" "In a quiet park. The children are enjoying their meal of burgers and fries. Everyone received ice cream. I assumed that, given the lack of notice, you would require ample time to prepare," I whispered. "That way you won't have to bother with cooking. We will determine how we, as a family, will address matters during your absence. Why didn't you reach out to inform me? It seems as though there is doubt surrounding my return." Mira spoke softly, her words filled with a sense of sorrow and resentment. "That statement lacks truth." I longed to let out a piercing cry, yet I restrained myself, suppressing my emotions while I absorbed her words in silence. I pondered the reason behind her words. Was it a momentary lapse of reason? I attempted to reach out to you twice, as the children will inform you. You were engrossed in a conversation with someone over the phone. I divulged your intentions to them. They are also curious about the situation, as your demeanor remains serene," I responded. "We'll catch up with you upon our return." I sent a message to Rebecca, requesting her assistance in uncovering the identity of the individual residing at this address. I also asked her to verify the associated phone number and requested that she provide a photograph of the person within a time frame of less than 5 minutes. She replied, This was Sylvia Smith's home and mobile number. Watching my children speak to their mother was a truly heart-wrenching experience. They all made desperate attempts to uncover the truth from their mother. Her words echoed endlessly, a haunting refrain that pierced the silence. On Sunday morning, following her departure on the plane, I started to feel a sense of calm wash over me. Unbeknownst to my wife, my father and I had enlisted the services of a private investigator to monitor her activities. On Sunday, my parents paid us a visit to check on our well-being. My children struggled to come to terms with the painful truth that their mother had deceived us for more than half a year. Regardless of what is said to a child, they often internalize it as their own fault. At times, my own mother would retreat from her chambers to conceal her feelings. On Monday, following the departure of my daughters, I circled the block, parked the car, and retraced my steps. I requested to have a conversation with a parenting consultant named Karen Wilson. I recounted the events of the weekend and requested her vigilance in monitoring their emotional state, should they become overwhelmed and unable to handle it. She assured me of her commitment and commended my attentiveness to their needs. Upon my arrival at the office, I discovered that Rebecca had uncovered Sylvia Smith's secret. Her father held a prominent position as the chairman of the board of directors. She navigated her way through the corporate world, and after becoming an actuary, she had assumed the role of president and had been in power for 4 years. The week proved to be challenging, yet my children and I managed to persevere. 2 women we occasionally employed agreed to lend a hand. They diligently attended to the household chores, ensuring that the house was kept tidy and the laundry was taken care of twice a week. Mira made 2 calls to the girls and 1 to me upon her return home on Saturday morning, before departing again on Sunday afternoon. She had very little time at home, barely 24 hours thanks to the demanding plane schedules. My daughters quietly deliberated amongst themselves, seeking to grasp the meaning. What was the purpose of her return? She seemed to be present, yet somehow absent. Her thoughts were consumed by different matters. She was their mother, yet somehow she wasn't. I found myself unable to dispute their words. As I reached out to embrace her, I encountered an icy barrier, devoid of warmth or emotion. I noticed a profound stillness enveloping her family during this period, leaving me to ponder what they might have been informed of. As we pulled up to our house, the piercing sound of my cell phone shattered the silence. It was my father. "Hello, Father." "We just bid farewell to Mira. I contemplated taking my daughters out for pizza later. Would you like to join?" I interrupted him, denying him the opportunity to respond. "I'm sorry, but I cannot comply with your request. I wanted to inform you that we have a scheduled appointment with a lawyer tomorrow morning at 9 to discuss the car dealership I'm interested in acquiring." He greeted them with a somber, hushed voice. "Grandma and I are sending you our affection from the back seat. The girls." As we made our way to our beloved pizzeria, he spoke in hushed whispers, his words carrying a weight of sorrow and animosity. My father shifted the topic of conversation, diverting our attention. "I thought it was well executed, Dad." Later, once the girls had finished showering and retired to bed, I decided to give him a call. "Will, we have received the initial report. It's not as terrible as we initially perceived. According to my father, this is even more dreadful. The affair started well before her month-long training there. We possess videos capturing their presence in bars, engaging in dance, clasping hands, and openly displaying affection in a highly provocative manner. They were even captured on video entering an adult store and purchasing erotic toys. I was overcome with a profound sense of sorrow, yet driven by an insatiable need for answers. Who is he? Father. And what is his occupation? It's not him, Will. The person in question is Sylvia Smith, her boss. According to my father, they live together as a married couple. Mira removed her wedding ring upon boarding the plane for the very first time. I let my cell phone slip from my grasp, rendered speechless. I felt a profound sense of exhaustion, as if my emotions had been completely depleted. Diana reluctantly answered the phone. She whispered to her grandfather about my shattered state. She, in my thoughts, she compelled her grandfather to reveal the truth. We spent the next few hours in a profound silence, sharing our sorrow until there were no more tears left. Mom and Dad arrived at 6 in the morning to discover Diana and me still embracing as we slumbered on the living room couch. Upon brewing the coffee, we were abruptly awakened. Diane's words broke the silence, interrupting my peaceful awakening. Grandpa, can I pursue legal action against these individuals? Is it possible to take legal action against their employer and both individuals, either jointly or individually? Diana inquired. We were all taken aback, struck by a profound sense of silence and heaviness. Her comment caught us completely off guard. Indeed, I believe so. However, it is necessary to confirm this with a lawyer. I would need to thoroughly assess my qualifications in this field before providing you with a definitive answer. Her grandfather responded, From where did this originate? I have chosen to pursue law as an elective in school, with the support of my father. Diana expressed her determination to take legal action against Sylvia and her mother. I've been teaching students for nearly 2 years, but unfortunately, I won't be able to obtain my unrestricted driver's license until I reach the age of 18. I aspire to pursue a career in law. This comment stirred something within me. I stepped into the office, the air heavy with stillness. With a heavy heart, I powered on the computer. I logged onto Facebook and typed in my wife's name. 2 Facebook pages were created. I was completely unaware of the second occurrence. She made an error by utilizing the identical image. It was opened 8 months ago. Upon discovering this, my father promptly contacted the private investigation agency and left a message detailing our findings. It was compromised in no time. The extensive records detailed numerous instances and locations of events, corroborated by the accounts of silversmiths. A somber online presence. Both can be presented as evidence in a legal proceeding. The women openly revealed their 8-month non-traditional relationship on their personal Facebook pages. Every page proclaimed them as each other's partners. Mira's second Facebook page remained completely silent about both the children and me. It came as a surprise to me that Diane was also reading it simultaneously. Mom's lived double lives, Diane whispered in my ear. I find myself pondering which one truly holds her heart. We were served brunch by Mom. Later, we recounted everything we knew to Darcy in a somber silence. I contacted the school to inform them that my daughters would not be attending due to the circumstances I am currently facing. My oldest daughter passed me the phone. I believe it is Karen Wilson, and I am at a loss for words. I pleaded for them to remain by their sister's side. I will return shortly. I entered the office and shut the door in silence. Good day, Miss Wilson, I inquired. How may I be of assistance to you today? The children were summoned for a day off. I was curious if this had any connection to our previous conversation. She agreed. It came to our attention that she had been engaged in an extramarital relationship for a minimum of 8 months. We discovered it last night after she departed. In that moment, we grappled with the perplexing question of her arrival, for she had journeyed from a distant and desolate place. May I inquire about his age? Miss Wilson inquired. Do you have any suggestions on how I should handle this situation if it arises? With cautiousness and slow progress, it feels like an eternity. It's a challenging task. I conveyed my thoughts. There is no evidence to suggest that my wife is involved in any romantic relationships, whether with a man or her female boss. Oh, no, apologies for the mistake, she replied, expressing sympathy for the evident pain you and your daughters must be feeling. It must have been a painful experience for you and your parents when your brother came out. I was on the phone. Diana retired for the night. As I discovered the source of my initial information, it came from the detective's report. I couldn't bear it any longer and let go of the phone. Diane discovered my presence and inquired about the caller's intentions. The night was filled with a heavy silence, reflecting the somber emotions that enveloped both of us. Karen Wilson requested to be added to your contact list. If your wife concealed this aspect of herself right in front of you, it is likely that you have been subjected to false accusations by your mutual family and friends. I informed my father about Karen Wilson's statement. Then I had to provide an explanation about her identity. He made the necessary arrangements for us to meet with our divorce lawyers promptly at 1 o'clock that same day. All 3 of my daughters were preparing to leave. An email was received from the company containing an attached file, which was then printed out. Their Facebook pages revealed the undeniable truth that their relationship had started long before her supposed month-long training. It was intriguing to observe my eldest daughter skillfully employ her understanding of civil law to pose questions that appeared to perplex the divorce lawyer. It was evident that my daughters had reached the age where they could legally file a claim for the disruption of family ties against Sylvia Smith and the insurance company, if there are any guidelines that have been violated. I reached out to Rebecca, desperately pleading for her assistance in obtaining a copy of it. She responded, stating that she had already handled the matter. Last week, a copy of it arrived in my possession, accompanied by a thorough explanation of what my distant cousin knew about Sylvia and Mary's relationship. After 20 minutes, the lawyers observed him intently. This only pertained to individuals within the corporation. Rebecca's distant cousin shared a plethora of information with us. I listened to the recorded conversation with the receptionist, which I had saved from various sources such as Facebook, messenger chats, emails provided by Mira, and my own recordings. It became evident that they had been exploiting their positions at the firm to manipulate me and my daughters for a significant period of time. Consequently, my daughters have decided to take legal action against my wife, her mistress, and their employers, as they believe their actions have shattered the family bond. I initiated the process of divorce from Mira, citing abandonment and adultery as the reasons. Additionally, I hold her mistress responsible for intruding upon our marriage, causing the breakdown of family bonds. Furthermore, I find fault with her employer for failing to uphold their own human relations policies. Of utmost significance was the fact that one of the defendants held the position of president within the company. It was impossible for them to feign ignorance of the situation beforehand. There was a collective sense of surprise among us when Diane proposed the idea of obtaining a court order to protect Sylvia Smith and Mira Roberts from being terminated until the court cases reached their conclusion. We opposed the corporation's decision to prioritize its own interests over the well-being of those two individuals. Our team of divorce lawyers was taken aback. It was a decision that they wouldn't have anticipated, but it was logical. After departing from the lawyer's office at 3 o'clock, we decided to indulge in an early dinner, the four of us. Darcy, with her usual sharpness, suggested that we acquire new cell phone numbers, while keeping these ones active but turned off until they were delivered. If our mother attempts to reach out, her calls will be directed to voicemail. Please ensure that all cell phones are switched off at this moment. Diana claimed responsibility for our actions. She gathered them together and politely requested our waiter to deliver them to the hostess. We will collect them upon our departure. When my father shared with me the words spoken by Karen Wilson earlier today, it provoked deep contemplation within me. The lawyer spoke of meticulous planning. We should consider adopting a similar mindset for our own well-being. Diane advised that it is crucial to keep all our computer devices and any other items that may be connected to the internet turned off and unplugged until they can be professionally scanned for viruses, considering the risks lurking on the dark web. Following our meal, as we retrieved our phones, I discreetly secured them in the trunk as we made our way to the Cricket store to acquire new numbers and devices. I chose to purchase an additional one and refrain from activating it until the girls departed for school on Tuesday morning. I handed Diane an additional cell phone from Wilson and requested her to provide an explanation. On Tuesday morning, I took a trip to the bank and made some necessary financial adjustments. I decided to cancel our joint credit cards and withdraw the remaining funds from our joint bank accounts, effectively closing them. I erased any trace of my identity from them. I quietly placed the funds in 90-day certificates of deposit in the names of my wife and me. I received a printed record of all my actions from the bank after making a personal copy for myself. I brought them to the lawyer's office on Friday morning at 9 o'clock Maryland time. I shared a recorded telephone conversation with my wife, Mira, that I had saved on my old cell phone. The words echoed softly as if carried on a whisper. "This is the final occasion I express affection for you." I proceeded to perform a factory reset on all of our outdated phones. I ensured that all contact information was thoroughly erased from them before abandoning them at the nearby park. Mira was with Sylvia when she received the text message. They inadvertently caught wind of his discussion with her ex-colleague. "Mira said," he whispered softly, "oh, how frustrating. He discovered my true occupation at 9:15 in the morning following the given instructions. The waiter delivered everything at the corporate office in Maryland. donning a video camera, maintaining a profound silence throughout. Mira was taken aback by the contents of the envelope she had just received. The letter contained information about Dean's intention to seek a divorce due to allegations of adultery and abandonment. This was based on evidence found on her Facebook page, where she claimed to be in a marital relationship with Sylvia Smith. He possessed a profound understanding of all things. The document held 4 pages of information that would be revealed during the initial court proceedings. They even disclosed the adult store they visited and the items they purchased early in the morning. I entered the office of our cellular operator to report the loss of 4 phones and requested the cancellation of their numbers on Monday morning. I settled the current bill completely. Rebecca and I were at work, quietly reflecting on what I had accomplished. I hoped she would examine it with a fresh perspective in case I overlooked anything. Do you grasp the inevitability of their eventual arrival at your doorstep? Rebecca mentioned that their legal issues are in this condition. It seems that there is a lack of understanding regarding the fact that your daughters are old enough to have their own legal representatives. Fortunately, we reside in one of the rare states where legal action can be taken to address the severing of familial bonds. I can envision her actions. Mira will be reaching out to our previous contacts, desperately seeking a way to escape from this predicament. I have made arrangements to deliver copies of her lovers and her Facebook pages to her parents, her sisters, and her brother. Today, once they open them, there will be no escaping the truth from her side of the family. "What are your daughter's desires in all of this?" Rebecca inquired, came the response. "Diane seeks retribution. She can't help but dwell on the thoughts of my emotional state during that evening. Diane believes that no one should ever be subjected to such mistreatment. Dawn and Darcy are convinced that our mother intentionally left us all behind." I described how all 3 individuals have a strong desire for this confrontation. They struggle to move on from the painful realization that their mother deceived them with a web of lies for an extensive period. Darcy articulates it eloquently. What will be the extent of her actions if her feelings towards us turn from love to hatred? I could sense Rebecca contemplating my words with a somber intensity, as someone who deeply understands the complexities of motherhood. She has experienced it from both perspectives. I sensed the profound sorrow and anguish she exuded. Mira may not be aware of it at the moment, but she will come to understand. She has forever lost touch with her daughters. Rebecca solemnly declared that there is no going back from this point. The wounds inflicted upon your daughters will forever etch themselves into the depths of your being. Rebecca, I failed to perceive it. I conceded, acknowledging your point. I witnessed a truly unsettling incident when 2 individuals with a strong animosity towards each other engaged in a physical altercation. They exuded an aura of darkness, cruelty, and a burning desire for retribution. When 2 men engage in conflict, it signifies the end. Once it's finished, a woman's memory remains etched, refusing to release its grip. Doesn't it? "Excuse me, may I speak with the boss?" "Indeed," she responded. "You possess a profound understanding on occasion." Diana Roberts reluctantly made her way to school that Friday morning, dreading what awaited her. Little did she know that her day would take a turn for the worse, as she was abruptly summoned out of her first period class and into Karen Wilson's office. Using a friend's laptop the night before, she meticulously scanned all the documents pertaining to their lawsuit against Sun America Life Insurance and its 2 employees, Myra Roberts and Sylvia Smith. Every piece of information from Facebook was meticulously scanned. Additionally, she included a copy of the court order, which mandates that Sun America Life Insurance must retain 2 employees in their current roles until all legal issues are resolved. Once the data had been transferred to the flash drive, it was prepared. "Are you certain about proceeding with this?" Karen Wilson inquired. "If we persist, reversing this will become impossible." Diane stated that everything on the flash drive is already in court records. This story stands out because society continues to view us as mere children, despite our age. I possess a 1-page letter duly signed by me, elucidating that during my tenure as a law student in the 12th grade, I stumbled upon a state law that granted my sisters and me the authority to undertake this course of action. Karen Wilson created a fresh email account under an alias and initiated a new email correspondence. Upon typing a few words, the email addresses of 26 different news organizations were revealed, evoking a sense of somberness and disdain. Upon receiving the data from Diane, she proceeded to enter the subject of 3 underage children challenging corporate America. Within the confines of the letter, she penned her thoughts. Here are the copies of the legal complaint against Sun America CA Life. Sylvia Smith, the president, and Mira Roberts, the regional manager, were filed by Diane Dorn and Darcy Roberts. After carefully examining everything, she clicked. Witnessing Diane's departure, I observed her solemnly shutting down the email account. When it reaches the media, a single event is enough to make it headline news. Karen mentioned that there could be a chain reaction depending on the outcome of this situation. Diane expressed her reliance on that outcome. I desire the complete annihilation of the woman who was once my mother. I appreciate your gratitude. I will return to class. Karen has developed a strong bond with Diana. With success on her side, she will rise to prominence as a lawyer in her chosen field. Karen questioned whether Diane comprehended the potential consequences of her actions, which could potentially harm Sun America. Anticipate a significant decline in stock price. On this day, some may choose to cancel their policies without hesitation after receiving the service. Sun Life will prioritize examining and researching the civil law of divorce, as it falls outside their area of expertise. Diana appeared to be attempting to trap them. Her performance has been exceptional thus far. After a couple of hours, it became the top story of the day. Local branches were overwhelmed with an influx of calls as customers fervently requested the cancellation of policies. Business talk shows started analyzing the repercussions of the lawsuit against the president. Consequently, their stock prices started to decline. Sylvia Smith's same-sex relationship was revealed after years of secrecy. Mira has been desperately attempting to reach her husband ever since he sent her a message. When she tried to reach him at his office, all she got was his voicemail or a busy signal. She was informed that he was absent from work throughout the entire day. There was an overwhelming sense of unease that permeated the corporate office. Mira and Sylvia anticipated the end of their marriage, but the manner in which it unfolded was far from what they had imagined. She was meticulous in maintaining a strict separation. Perhaps Karen Wilson should have reached out to William Roberts. 3 film crews emerged. Fortunately, he picked up immediately. "Apologies for the interruption, Will," Karen whispered. "There is an issue that demands our immediate attention. Are they females?" "Is everything all right with them?" I inquired. "Yes, they are all right." Diane discovered a method to bring a pending court case to the attention of the mainstream media, anticipating its imminent explosion in the coming hours or days. Karen spoke softly. "We currently have 3 news teams in place with the anticipation of additional teams joining in the future." I muttered under my breath, filled with frustration. "Do you have any recommendations? Is there any other purpose for their arrival?" Karen replied with a lack of enthusiasm. "She will inevitably have to confront them at some point. I'll bring them all together in my office, so the 4 of you can quietly deliberate on how you're going to address this situation. I will arrive promptly. Watch me closely, for I may soon have to perform the most significant role of my existence." I mentioned that I parked my car in the teacher's parking lot and stepped out, making my way towards the main doors. A voice reached my ears amidst the bustling crowd of news. It is widely believed that the father was responsible. After 10 minutes, my daughters and I departed. Diane approached the news reporters with a solemn demeanor. We were all gathered beside her. "I will only make one statement on behalf of the family until the court case is concluded." Diane firmly stated that no interviews or questions would be entertained during the ongoing court case. "Inform me when you are prepared." The media gathered in silence, signaling her to commence. My family and I uncovered the shocking truth that my father's wife and our mother, Myra Roberts, had been living a secret existence for a minimum of 8 months. We were all left pondering the unsettling question of which life held true authenticity and which was merely an illusion. It was disheartening to see her lack of transparency regarding her personal life and work situation, which left the 4 of us feeling unsettled. We were left with no choice but to enlist the services of a detective agency. It was revealed that she resided in Maryland alongside a person named Sylvia Smith. In a bond between two individuals, there exists a profound connection that transcends words. Their relationship was made known to the public through the discovery of their Facebook pages. Diane pondered, it raises the question, are they legally married? It appears that my mother, Mira Roberts, has been keeping a secret from us all along, with no intention of ever revealing the truth. It seems that, in her perspective, our family is nothing more than an illusion. It has come to our attention that Sylvia Smith holds multiple roles in her life, including being involved romantically with her lover and superior, as well as holding the position of president at Sun America Life. One can't help but question the methods by which Mira Roberts attained her promotion. If she did, then she is simply reduced to being a girl who is easily available and compensated for her services. Did my mother have a same-sex companion throughout adulthood? Diane asked. Did she want children and use my father as a facade? Were they ever lovers? Was she ever loving? Why can't she recognize us as her daughters in her other life? Does she regret creating us? After much study, we sisters have concluded that our mother, Mira Roberts, has died. This new change. We shall always be unfamiliar with Myra Roberts. The activities of Miss Roberts and Miss Smith prompted legal action. Retracing our steps to my car was quiet. My emotions ranged from pride in my daughter to shock. Diane brought up moral and legal issues I had never considered. Unlike Mira, lost forever in ruin. We traveled for 2 hours, watching for pursuers. As we each retreated into our brains, a deep quiet fell. My father constantly checked our electronics for safety. Results were not found. As the situation worsened, Sylvia reached out to Mira with a sorrowful voice. A compelling TV event requires your attention. Mira entered her office. The environment seemed gloomy. Never forget that I care, Sylvia whispered as she hugged her. TV was rewound and paused. Mira proclaimed readiness. She clicked play unwillingly. Her husband and 3 daughters left the school's front door. At the end of time, it was broken. Her oldest daughter revealed all her life's actions with one word, despite her efforts. Sylvia battled her restlessness. We took a break and ate at a charming diner an hour away. When I went to pay the bill, I was told it was done. Despite my anxiety, I paid. The individual claimed to be the owner and thanked our family for what your daughter stated today. Your daughter's statement spoke to a culture seeking change. Hearing this may change my ex's mind. Sun America. Life's lawyers raged. Mira's daughter's questions left everyone uneasy, aware of the hidden reality. Everyone has their own morals. Was Mira promoted because of her closeness to Sylvia? Not the question. Consider how to prove this did not happen. It was upsetting to see a 12th grader who only took 1 law class a day ask questions that revealed the corporation's entrapment. They were difficult for most attorneys to present, wishing for a kiss that never came. It hurt. The principal called an emergency meeting with all teachers after the last bell. Since it was Friday, the director was pleased that the school would soon be empty. He turned on the TV to see Diane address the reporters. Karen Wilson was transferred. Diane took her advice to heart. She needed unshakable focus, dedication, and strength to succeed. Her attention was called by the director. He gave her 2 grants if she become a lawyer after mentioning his continuous inquiries about her. Some people want to sponsor our school. I commend Jim Spears and Karen Wilson for their exceptional participation, suitable for law instruction. One helped her practically and the other guided her. Mira summoned the strength to call Diane's cell phone, her voice thick with quiet. When he called, someone answered. Quarters cost $44. I'm in my usual place, the foreign voice murmured, gravely and resentfully. Please explain your identify and why you have my daughter's phone, the mirror asked. The caller abruptly ended it. She tried to contact her daughter on her old Facebook page. She instantly noticed she was barred and removed from their friends list. Similar methods were used to find her other daughters. Will may have acted similarly. She called her parents. Her father said, Hello, Father, Mira whispered. Hi, Mira, her dad replied. Let me explain. We saw our granddaughters declare. We found printed Facebook pages of you and your lovers. All of us will receive them. We remember your explanation for leaving our daughter, Will. I agree with my granddaughter. We have no idea who you are. Look, we are deeply disappointed and disdainful of you. Her father abruptly hung up. Mira fainted again. My girls and I stayed away from home for the night. The granddad. We bought enough clothes for the weekend. We had a chance to collaborate again. I notified Karen Wilson of our whereabouts and well-being. I pondered my knowledge and stupidity at my father's office. My daughter's journalistic comments made me deeply introspective about my marriage. Mom entered as I contemplated the realities I could bear. My mother whispered that not everything was fake. Your girls appear to be standing next to you, contradicting your claim. Naturally, one questions everything. Remember, Mira's emotional connection with Sylvia changed your life. What role does emotion play? I asked. What started their romance? Motivated by emotion or desire? The mother said friendship turned into desire. They seemed to spend every day together while Mira was in head office. They grew closer in quiet, on the brink. A little mistake might have unintended repercussions. This initially causes remorse and embarrassment. Mira may have overindulged to numb the pain, allowing Sylvia to slowly control her thoughts. A gentle touch or caress shows affection. Do you dare suggest Mira's acts were unintentional? Increasing my volume, I exclaimed. Not now. Love isn't planned. Mom, it happens. She acted deliberately. She seemed unconcerned about the implications. Not otherwise would she have ended the marriage this way. Mom, Mira did everything. They created a story they thought would fool the gullible. They planned our gradual separation until someone would come to take care of me. I whispered. Mira might keep their relationship a secret until the divorce. Silva will be introduced to our daughters as a valued friend after the divorce. You reached that conclusion how? Mom asks. Truly. Her brother called me today after receiving records of Sylvia and Mira's 8-month romance. He said Mira told them a week before her departure during training. She uncovered my infidelity, I confessed. Mira says our 2-month efforts have yielded nothing. It appeared. That's why she left. Do your girls know? Mom asks. 3 voices whispered, comprehending. We turned and peered, the air heavy with unspoken weight. My 3 girls heard everything. Oh, Dad, Dawn whispered. Mom prepared you to be scapegoat. Had she left with it, we would have believed her. Darcy wanted to break our relationship. Observing my environment, she looked pallid. I moved swiftly and caught her before she fell. Dad and I woke up early Saturday. My house was our destination. The press waited patiently for us. People were gathering at our dealership as we walked by. I'm pleased I gambled against livestock or the sun. We'll need money to buy a house Thursday. My father requested we find a solution to those annoying dogs immediately. He ordered me to rush to the dealership. I'll talk to them outside. Both of us know what I'm saying. Mira's mistress will be found. I proposed giving them something to think about. I exited the car and approached the reporters in quiet. I made sure our dealership name was prominent behind me in case I was recorded. Your girls' well-being? The ABC spokesman was questioned. They thought it was their fault, like any youngster. As they accept the truth, they question everything their mother taught them. I mumbled, They look to me for comfort, but I have none. It's hard to explain. You discovered how? What followed? On that fateful Friday, my wife asked me to come home for a serious talk. I replied. I muttered, Where are you? When she returned home. Unease permeated the air. I contacted her employer. Recall the talk. Its quiet, profound atmosphere drew them. At that time, I felt she was an assistant branch manager and nothing more. She told me she was leaving for company headquarters when I got home. She appeared to be stepping in for a colleague who was ready to go on maternity leave. I now know this was all a lie. My wife's brother called me Friday after my daughter's confession to tell me what Mira told them. Mira uncovered my cheating during her month at HQ. She abruptly returned home to save our marriage. Unfortunately, it failed. Will she abandon me? I persisted. Sylvia Smith and Mira seemed to be working against me, which fueled my rage. Mira's continual travel distanced us, weakening our relationship. She informed me that I was no longer trying and that she would file for divorce. Sylvia became a close friend of our family and children after our daughters divorced. After discovering their multiple Facebook sites, I mentioned their failure. No more. Did you try to show your discord with her? The reporter asked. If they blame me for our divorce, they could cut off my relationship with my parents and girls forever. Confidently expressed. Reasons to know? Not sure. Perhaps you can ask them. Were they trying to manipulate my girls to hurt me? From my perspective, it seems so. Did Sylvia want to expose my girls to an unorthodox lifestyle like she did my wife? I silently returned to my father's car and sat. My father was gloomy. He heard everything. Did your year on commission go well? Prideful, he said. They hunt for answers without blaming others, yet questions torment them. You appeared as a man intent on protecting his daughters, acting quietly. Finally, a break after what seemed like forever. I laughed gently, Father. A judge is unlikely to let Sylvia or Mira talk to these girls alone. Indeed. However, making Sylvia the instigator strains the organization, its professionalism, and personal relationships. His suggestion that she may be gay was fantastic. It increases corporate accountability and burden. He said we got home in time for brunch with the ladies. We said media were still outside our home and business. My mom proposed a shopping trip out of town. Dad went golfing, which I don't like, so I spent a few hours in the office. My father told me I could use his truck if I wanted to go out if my car was watched. Miss Wilson called unexpectedly as I prepared to leave. She proposed discussing the girls' Monday school start over lunch. I agreed because I needed someone outside my family. Please text me her address so I can pick her up. Please forgive my intrusion. I'm wearing jeans. She laughed and agreed. I left my father's truck and went to her. Karen opened the door at my knock. Early today, I recorded your media statement. It was impressive. Want to see it? Karen Wilson asked. I was pleased. Karen turned on DirecTV after finding it. She hit play. It was brief, low, and quiet. Though I seemed to understand the situation, I stayed silent, unable to explain the acts. Numerous talk shows have discussed this today, generating questions about their behavior. Call recording shows subtle and malevolent actions toward you. It made you feel alone. Karen laughed, adding that your family didn't know until the last 2 weeks. I just wanted to distract the media from my family. My father's truck is my mode of transportation. This is because someone occupied the space in front of our home last night, preventing us from entering. Do you have supper preferences? She knew the place was secret, so we could enjoy our isolation. Karen told me what happened at school yesterday after I took my girls. I was surprised, but I told her I knew Diane would pursue her legal case. She asked about their situation. We've all felt deep sadness and hostility. It was devastating to learn that their mother had unjustly accused me of infidelity and used it to end our marriage. Karen said that must be hard. I said it helped me grasp politicians' daily struggles. Truth feels unimportant. One's perspective is shaped by feelings. The reasons and plans of Myra and Sylvia remain unknown. I will persevere since none of them can be trusted to tell the truth. I took her home after a nice stroll across the park. Someone who listened without judgment and offered support was comforting. Karen and I bonded. Everyone returned to my dad when I returned. Shopping was gloomy for the girls. Children hugged me tightly. Gentle mumble from Darcy. Father, I smell a woman's perfume. Who's she? I whispered. It was just acquaintance. Mom offered me a beer and gently invited me to the den to watch the news. Intriguing atmosphere. Ask unanswerable questions to get a response. Liberals and socialists seem to fully support this. My quick comment diverted media attention from the political issue. The ethics of my family situation were discussed somberly. How will the courts view Sylvia Smith and Mira Roberts' alleged intentional exposure to children to non-traditional lifestyles? Is this corruption? Secret plans were made to sabotage me. Sylvia felt deeply sad. After her husband's declaration, her father somberly informed Mary that the board of directors had called an urgent meeting. He had several inquiries about what was happening. Mira and her sat silently, watching the TV for another peek. After seeing it, they were aware. Mira's husband's questions, especially about Sylvia's plans for his children, were heavy. His words were profoundly unsettling. Sylvia grudgingly acknowledged that her career was being held together by a stressful court order. If only the board had the power to remove me at this precise minute. He appears as someone who is devoid of any solutions. So many unanswered questions. Someone is fiercely dedicated to safeguarding their children. He effortlessly portrayed a seamless plan from the very beginning. Mira blamed me entirely, claiming that I failed to communicate my long-lost affection for him. Before our paths crossed, I penned a message to the father regarding the ages of your daughters. Shiva emphasized the fact that the majority of them are adults. Your husband possessed a profound intelligence. He was well aware of how the media would manipulate the situation. Indeed. However, the root cause of all this can be attributed to my handling of the situation. We are both aware of this fact. I pondered excessively and deceived to alleviate the anguish of others. I receive what is rightfully mine. You seem to possess a sense of innocence. We both know that I sought after you because with you I could unleash the concealed parts of myself. Mira, it has taken you considerably more time than it took me to understand that living a falsehood is no longer sustainable. Sylvia revealed that my feelings for you had been present for years, unbeknownst to me. I maintained a cautious distance. That night in the gay bar, you sat alone, silently beckoning me to approach. That night, when you took a seat beside me, the atmosphere grew heavy with a profound silence. I sensed the reason behind my decision to invite you directly to my hotel or home. Mira replied, "The act we shared that night brought me a sense of liberation." As the morning dawned, a realization washed over me, sinking deep into my soul. It became painfully clear that the shell I had once inhabited was forever beyond my reach. I comprehend, however, the price of this remains undetermined. Sylvia said, "Dean, your husband and 3 daughters are all deeply hurt, each for their own reasons. They are left questioning their own identity and purpose due to your actions. The essence of existence. In your perspective, Dean may have been perceived as insignificant, merely a tool that you had been utilizing for over 2 decades. This harsh reality has claimed numerous lives and pushed certain individuals to the brink of despair. But I have strong feelings for him. However, I never had any affection for him." Mira said, "Mira, this is what the woman who was caught sleeping with her own brother by her husband is saying to justify her actions." Sylvia murmured, "It is of no consequence what you utter or enact at this moment. You're only going to make things worse for yourself. What course of action should I take? I yearn for a connection with my daughters." Mira explained that Dean will always be a presence in their lives. We must find a way to resolve this issue. Dean's knowledge was shared with everyone at home. Sylvia expressed her frustration at the complicated situation, highlighting the impact of dishonesty within the family and the unjust accusation towards the husband. His actions are a result of the limited options you presented, not driven by a desire for retribution. You tarnished his name in order to safeguard your own image. Your daughters seem to be giving you much grief. They see your family destroyed to be with me." Sylvia watched Myra contemplate, unsure how to speak. Mia's actions left lasting marks on relationships and lives. Mira always loved Dean like a sibling, not a lover. He gave her his everything during their love. Their strong, wordless connection said volumes. It was a cold gesture. Fulfill her desire. She sensed it. Mira couldn't. It was hard not to feel sorry for Dean. His horrible fate wasn't deserved. Nobody did. Sylvia noticed a media gathering outside their home. Dean and Diana garnered media notice. Finding someone in the real estate office on Sunday was unexpected. Amy Bronson stared at me intently. We were schoolmates again. I asked her for help discovering nearby properties like mine. She quickly gave me pages. I listed my house for far more than normal. She reluctantly consented to talk to my wife while I signed the paperwork. She looked up and found Sun America headquarters phone number. Silently, I gave her the envelope. "This letter lets my wife into the house and get her stuff before it's sold. Tell her my girls and I will take our clothes and personal items at the end of the week. She wants out of the house. You have my contact info. I want a house with 4 bedrooms, a pool, and a large property that offers seclusion. Dean, do you own the house alone? Do I need her permission to sell?" Amy asked. "Only I feel it. Please tell her my lawyers will hold the monies in trust until the divorce is final." I replied that I will not do anything that will allow her to sue me. I wanted this to end. Mira's behavior offended us. Regardless, this state divides property equally. Amy Bronson watched Dean leave after their goodbye. Dean's pain was overwhelming. If Myra liked girls all her life, she hid it well, unknown to all. Why did she post about our romance on Facebook? Infuriating. Their entire situation seemed strange. Unfortunately, Dean would never experience it. He will be haunted by this forever. I was alone in my office early Monday morning. The phone rang as I poured coffee from a new mug, Ford owned by Robert. Silent morning. "What can I do for you?" I asked. Resentful voice replied, "May I speak with Dean James Roberts? Are you talking to him?" I replied. "Who is the caller?" "I'm Sun America Life Board Chairman Charles Anthony Smith. I would prefer a private talk with you about the situation between my daughter and your wife to avoid media attention." He said the material was never released. I indicated that he was publicly accessible nearby. My daughter and I tried to calm things. Now that the media has left, we may be able to return home. He said our legal staff planned it. "Can you explain Friday's events?" In case of emotional outbursts, Karen Wilson, who was watching after them as requested, called me at 11 a.m. News teams gathered at the door after her call. She requested their expulsion from school. It was then that we noticed the problem. The school needed our help to get them to leave since they were disrupting classes. We left when my oldest daughter said something. It was unclear what she would say. They left after us. Your daughter was determined, her feelings hushed. She spoke mostly to her mother. You should be proud. Charles Smith commented on her unanswerable queries, inspiring profound thought. Both acts were taken to show your wife and my daughter the consequences of their actions. Yes, I concur. Chaos is simply one part of the problem. They lied for their own benefit. It was planned and executed skillfully. I have signed statements from Mary's relatives stating that she left me after discovering my infidelity in Maryland. A 2-month vacation during her recent visit home was an attempt to save our marriage. I have 6 pages of workplace email correspondence between your daughter and my wife over 5 days. This correspondence was designed to make me think Mira was forced into a 3-month temporary post at headquarters. Seriously, I was unaware. Charles Smith reportedly headed to a board meeting. I didn't know about their romance till it was exposed. Now I understand you both asked questions. You did. I understand your sentiment. The council's determination on whether you or your daughter requested the injunction to prohibit you from firing them is unclear. Diane, my daughter, chose law as an elective in her senior year of high school. I confidently said, "Inform her that I am not fond of having my hands restrained." He laughed. Her actions exposed our legal team's incompetence. Right now, the injunction would terminate Sylvia and Mira. I appreciate our conversation. Now I may freely share knowledge. I smiled when Rebecca entered, pushing me to explain. "Dean, consider the possibility that he lied to manipulate your leaving." Rebecca said, she whispered. "Why did I tell him Sylvia and Mira's letters, if he knew I replicated them? It supports their plot to fool me. He will soon have copies, whether he realizes it or not." Recounted. No evidence supports his assertion that we involved the media. Surely the media would have found out if we were involved. Dean, be careful. To escape this situation, every legal loophole will be examined. His memory replayed Rebecca's comments. Amy Bronson ended her Mira Roberts chat. It was surprising how easily the chat went. Both remained calm. Amy sensed Mira's surprise when the house was listed. Amy politely asked Mira to take whatever she wanted since she wanted to know what would stay in the house after the sale. Mira was surprised to learn that the lawyers would get the payment and keep it until the divorce was final. Mira checked Dean's health. Amy kept mute but said that mainstream media forced her soon-to-be ex-husband and girls to move. Amy hoped Mira would realize her actions were hurting her family. The board of directors met in private for a long time. The stock price fell further. They needed detailed explanations from the legal department chief. Sylvia and Mira could not be fired until the judicial matters were resolved. They couldn't be transferred, which was frustrating and disheartening. Unless Mira and Dean Roberts' divorce required judicial procedures, the council preferred mediation. A statement was written to pacify the media. After the media frenzy, escaping their own door was haunting for the two people in an illicit romance. A snapshot of Mira with a startled expression was posted on Instagram with the description, "The moment you get caught." Anonymous sources provided a detailed account of the occurrence. The press informed Mira that her family had distanced themselves from her because they no longer wanted to be linked with her acts. Sylvia said the situation needed to cool down before progress could be achieved. The sudden appearance of an advance Sun America Life statement surprised me. It revealed that Sylvia and Mira were only employed because of a court order to stay until the legal concerns were resolved. They worked hard to change public opinion by emphasizing their opposition to adults purposefully corrupting minors. The truth behind this case is unknown. but it must be resolved quickly. That's why we started mediation immediately. I contacted my father, who ordered the share sale. This worked out. I picked up my daughters. We've been demoted from the first page. However, another view existed. We came home and began the difficult work of assembling our treasures. It broke my heart to see my girls part with mother-given treasures. We planned to stay with my parents until we found a place. We can't bear returning to this location. We worked till we were exhausted, finishing on Friday. Dad and I carefully stored everything on Saturday. We survived. Sylvia hated her father because the board of directors left them to struggle alone. Mira and her were advised that they would be fired after the issues were rectified. They both looked for work. The outlook was gloomy. As Amy Bronson and my girls and I were seeing houses on a calm Saturday morning, she remarked that Mira would be departing the following weekend to organize and ship her possessions. She had others undergo it, but most wanted to examine the aftermath before deciding. I informed the girls that night. My 3 girls went out with Diane on Sunday. Lunch meeting with Karen Wilson. The father of Sylvia told me Mira and she would arrive next Friday. I worried about my strong-willed daughter and her mother fighting. Karen and I walked through the mall in silence. The retail market's furniture styles and quality intrigued me. Mira's parents, Jace and Janet Sixsmith, met us then. We ordered coffee from the counter and sat together. Their family suffered as much as ours. I told Karen about our relationship in a 4-person chat. I realized how much my daughters cared about me. All 3 of them asked Karen to monitor my actions once we learned this. My father-in-law and I cried with emotion. Mira's unorthodox orientation was unknown to us. After not hearing from their grandparents, the kids wondered why. The grandparents kept their distance to prevent reminding them of their mother. Amy Bronson gladly showed Karen and me a newly available house on Thursday. A beautiful built-in pool with an outdoor kitchen and 5 bedrooms, including 2 master bedrooms, were in the residence. I liked the 3-car garage with an open floor plan. Promotional event offered it. I spontaneously proposed late Friday night after the owner died. Sylvia and Mira appeared in profound quiet. They took a taxi to our old house. My 3 daughters may have left Mom a surprise on a stack of torn photos. All Mira's treasured gifts were left behind. The message was sent and received Saturday. Mira and Sylvia appeared unexpectedly at Ruby Tuesdays. They went unnoticed while my daughter Diane used the bathroom. Karen and I watched Diane pass their table while Mira spoke. I ran away in tears no matter what my daughter Diane, Mira said. Karen focused on me and kissed me passionately. Mira later said that she tried to contact her family, but it was too early for them to answer. Mediation failed. We entered a solemn courtroom. Sun America Life won after appealing the court judgment and admitting fault. The court accepted their responsibility. Only one question remained. How much? The next day, Sylvia and Mira were abruptly dragged out of the corporate building with their things. Their father was forced to resign as board chairman. We achieved an accord after much negotiation. I bought a house, and my daughters were thrilled. Karen helped me choose colors and refinish floors. The divorce was going well, and to my surprise, an unknown buyer bought the old house at full price for a rapid closing. Lawyers held funds in trust after signing papers. Sun America Life chose a judge-only trial. The hearing was one day. The judge rejected the corporation's attempt to reduce its liability, emphasizing its incapacity to regulate personal conduct. Our lawyers thought Sylvia Smith's role conveyed authority. Sun America Life lost a lot with the upheaval. My daughters received large sums and legal bills. I received $2 million. It exceeded the mediation deal my lawyers accepted. The divorce was uncontested, and she received her state-mandated half of our marital property. I never saw her. She skipped court. Sylvia and Mira bought my old house. They won their lawsuit against their old employer. Karen and I take it day by day. Join our channels to avoid a second-chance fraud. Listen to the next story. This story pales in comparison to the next.